Thanks for joining. I was mentioning blocks would be a good addition for tonight. And for our first posture, we're actually going to come into a low malasana. Um, and for that malasana, if you'd like it to be a little bit more supported, you can come and sit on your block. I'll show you two ways to do it right now. Some people like to have the hips unsupported, but have the heels supported on a blanket. This is one way if the restriction tends to be more at the ankles. But I really like to, especially for tonight, because in Yin we hold things just a little longer. I love the idea of finding a block to sit on. Because I also want to be able to try to get a little thoracic mobility here. So as you arrive, find a malasana. And then take the elbows to the insides of the knees, pressing the hips open, and then pull the palms in towards the heart, lifting the heart space. We're going to get right into a deep hip opening. We'll start a little bit more active tonight. This can be a posture that feels really active sometimes. So just notice how you arrive. Feel that initial edge. Notice where you feel sensation, whether it's in the feet or the lower legs, whether it's in the hip, whether it's in the spine. And see if you can just meet that resistance and start to make your way in to make this sustainable for you. And find your breath. Finding that link between the body, the mind, and the spirit. Our breath that tethers us to the present moment. And the breath that starts to unlock somatic awareness, or awareness of what we're feeling in our body, how we feel emotions, how we feel thoughts, taking us out of the thinking mind into the feeling mind. Use the breath to reconnect to those levels of ourselves that we often ignore or forget, which is part of our nature as we're moving through our daily life. And to make this just a little bit more sustainable for about another minute, maybe bring the hands towards the shins if that feels right, if there's space for that. And maybe you can find a little tiny cat and cow right at the heart space, coming out of what might seem like a traditional Yin variation and finding a little freedom. Inhale as you lift the chest. Exhale as you pull the pubic bone and the nose towards one another. And then as you inhale, the back of the head and the tailbone go towards one another. And see if, as you're at this edge, you can find a little room to play. And this is a nice way to think about playing the edge in Yin Yoga, having a little space to explore and a little curiosity to stay with the sensation and the posture. And right now we're doing it with a little bit more movement. And then as we move through the class, there'll be a little bit less movement, but think about exploring the same way. So about 5 more rounds of cat and cow in each direction. One more round. And then as you round, bring your hands to the earth. Start to turn the toes inward and come to Uttanasana, or standing forward fold. As you arrive here, you can let the legs stay a little wide and start to sway side to side. So again, coming out of a little bit of that static, more yin type hold, and finding a little bit more fluidity here. So shifting side to side, really feeling your foundation, how far you can go, how large your base of support is, being a little bit more dynamic as we enter this practice, carrying the energy of the light of this longest day of the year. And as we move through this practice, we'll talk about and speak to harnessing that. And the first way is by establishing a solid base. So here, exploring the base, and then maybe pause in stillness, going side to side, but see what happens if you rock forward and back now. You may even walk the hands out in front a little bit as you shift the hips back, and then as you shift the hips forward, shifting from heel to toe, finding your limit of stability. And then just pausing in the stillness, right in the middle. Feel the lift through the arches of the feet, and feel all four corners of the feet touch the earth. So pressing through the big toe, the pinky toe, the inside of the heel and the outside of the heel. And notice how as you push down through the feet, there becomes a little lift in the arch, a little activation or energizing that gives you a lift. Feel that balance of grounding and rooting through the feet and rising up the inside aspect of the arch and lower leg. Shake the head no, letting go of the thinking mind, coming back to the sensation, feeling into the body, finding ground, finding stability. And then if you're not already, coming towards the top of your mat, we'll come right from Uttanasana towards our lizard pose. So step the left foot back, finding lizard. Begin by coming to more of a lunge position. And I want you to find a few cat and cows here first again, before you settle into the stillness. So like I said in our Malasana, find that edge and play with the edge, using the breath, inhaling as you lengthen, exhaling as you round, so that you can play with your limits of motion, expanding the mobility, feeling the edges bumping up, and then coming off in a bigger way first, more active or energizing way. Taking one more round in each direction, and then settling into stillness. And today, I'm going to come into a rotated version. So we started right at the base, Malasana, Uttanasana, finding a stable base. And now we're going to move up more towards the belly and start to get into a little rotation. So find here some sort of rotation that feels right. Maybe it's pushing the front knee away, leaning back and opening the heart. Or maybe it's bringing the forearm down towards the floor. You can even kind of rotate it and then just leaning down into the floor. Noticing what feels right in your body today, but starting to feel a little rotation now as we move up from the pelvic floor and the pelvis into the belly. And send the exhale behind the navel, wringing you out a little bit more. Shake the head no, let go of whatever you're holding on in the head. Starting to open up from the center, up the torso, into the chest. Maybe you even start to get a little back bending through the heart space. And we'll just keep moving up the chain tonight throughout this practice. Begin always with a stable base, starting where you are. And then cultivating center with this twist. What happens as you begin to shift from that more dynamic movement we started with into a more static posture? Is there anywhere you're holding that you can soften and let go of? Can you draw your awareness to your physiological center right behind the navel at the very top front border of the sacrum? Moving from center, cultivating awareness in our belly, in our hara. Let the head hang wherever it is. Soften the jaw, soften the gaze. Let go of efforting. Moving towards center for 3 more breaths. Finding your fullest, most authentic expression right now in this moment. And then release the twist. And then bring both your hands inside the right leg. And we're going to transition right back to the top of the whole sequence. So press into the right foot. Take the left foot outside of the left hand. Just find Malasana for a moment. Come back and see what it feels like now. Letting the pelvis be heavy, reconnecting to foundation, heaviness, pelvic floor, feeling gravity and support. And then pressing up again to Uttanasana. Taking a couple sways here, letting go of the hips. Let go of the spine. Let the head surrender to the heart. Feel the difference, observing the change. And then as you're ready, step the right foot way back on your mat. Staying in a high lunge for a moment, find a few cat and cows here. Feeling the rounding and then the lengthening. Inhale on the lengthen, exhale on the round. Feeling the remnants of the heat by cultivating a little heat, cultivating a little fluid nature. Maybe breathing through the mouth, some Hasana breath may even feel really nice here. Take one more round. And then bring the right knee down towards the earth. And then come towards your variation of a twist. So you could be leaning against the upper leg, or that bottom elbow might come to the floor. You may push the knee away. This side may feel completely different than the other. So just find this authentic twisting through that navel region. Draw all your awareness to that space behind the navel, right at the top front border of the sacrum, where the spine and the pelvis meet. Let go of the head, bringing all of your awareness down, deep into the center of the body. Let go of the head, let go of the jaw. Let your awareness follow the breath, feeling a ringing, a spiraling, a pulsation of the breath deep in the belly. Feeling the posture evolve with time. Listening to where the body wants to go. So letting sensation guide this practice. So yin is more of a sensation-driven practice than an alignment-based practice. So find the edge and pause in stillness and ask yourself right now, what do I need in this moment? How can I be curious? How can I balance effort and ease? How can I move into center? What does it feel like to draw all my awareness inward to the center of myself? Notice if there's any struggle, any efforting. Notice how it shows up in the body without judging. Just draw your awareness there, asking yourself, how can I let go and make this sustainable? Taking 3 more breaths. For 1 more breath. And then pressing up to your hands, take the left foot and meet the right. This time, instead of moving forward, move back, and then just come to sitting in hero's posture. So on your knees, just come to sit. Take your left hand to the low belly. Take the right hand on top. Feel the breath move through center. Awareness moving right into the hands. Feel the hands expand 360 degrees around the low belly. Coming home to rest in the center of yourself. Pause and feel what it's like to be at home with yourself right now. What does it look like? What does it feel like? Is there an attraction to being here? Or there could even be an aversion to being here, a desire to move. Whatever it is, note it. And then ask yourself to gently come back. May I be at home in the center of myself. And then allow yourself to roll down towards child's pose. Hands can come by your sides. Let the forehead rest on the floor. Hands can come to the heels, or palms can face upward. And then now, as the spine cascades down towards the floor, can you start to move the energy upward and the awareness upward even a little bit more? Can you feel into now the lower ribs, feeling the ribs expand in all directions as the body breathes itself? Can you feel the awareness and the breath
rising from that physiological center now towards the heart space, letting that physiological center, that sense of being home in yourself, start to open into the heart space. Like a gentle fire moving upward. Start to feed the breath into the heart, into the ribs, that breath into the side ribs like bellows. Aerating the flames, spreading the warmth, spreading the light, until you feel the breath fill the entire rib cage. And then take the arms out in front now in child's pose. Continue with the rising breath, beginning in center in that Manipura region of that body, that fire heat producing area of the body, feeling it moving upward into the air, into the heart and the lungs, expanding warmth, light, movement in all directions. And then raise the hips up towards hands and knees, keeping the hips high. Reach the hands forward into melting heart or Anahatasana, heart melting pose as you bring the chest down. And if the chest touches the floor, you can bring the chin towards the floor. And if the chest is still floating, you can bring the forehead to the floor, or you may even find it might feel really nice to support the front of the heart with a block. And then if you give yourself that support under the heart, you'll feel how you can melt even more. If the block is too much, a blanket rolled up might work nicely too, if you just feel like it's too big or too hard. Welcoming the breath into the lungs, into the heart. Still visualizing that rising fire from the center of yourself. Into the heart space, and now feel it whirling around like a flickering flame, air moving that. See if you can warm the heart. As you warm the heart, melting anything you may be holding on to. melting any chains, guarding or protecting the heart, so that you can see in, that you can illuminate the heart space. Shining light inside. Notice where you feel the breath moving easily in the body. Follow the breath there for a few rounds. And then notice if there is a place where it's difficult to feel the breath. Maybe it feels like there's a blank space or darkness. Or a sense of unfamiliarity. A place you don't lean into or explore often. Feel it as sensation in the body. Let go of thinking and come back to the sensation of the breath, or the lack of sensation in the breath. And see if you can bring awareness, bring light, illuminate a place that might normally be resting in the dark, that normally might not be exposed. Normally might not be explored. And can you bring your awareness, your curiosity to that place? Allow your breath to bring awareness, to bring light. To make it seen and known to yourself. Pausing for 3 more breaths. Maybe sighing out, feeling that sigh as a sign of release, as a letting go. And then gently press into your hands, pull the heart forward, let the hips come to the floor, remove the block if it's there.
And then drag back through the hands, through the forearms, through the elbows, so that you start to peel the heart forward now. Press down gently into the floor so that you feel the space between the head and the shoulders. And then you can begin to soften into this place. Think about taking up as much space as possible on the mat. Maybe even curling the toes under to walk your feet back, lengthening out the front of the hips, the front of the pelvis, and then pulling the upper spine away from the lower spine, exposing now the front of your heart, moving forward into that light, into that new awareness. Letting feeling guide your way. Let go of thinking. Shaking the head no. Let go of control, opening and closing the jaw. And let the heart lead, feeling the heart strings pull you forward. Resting in the warmth around the heart. Can you begin to feel the glow? The radiance, the warmth, the expansion of that fire rising from center. Start to penetrate this space. What does that resonance, that glow, that warmth and light feel like as it moves around through the heart, the lungs, even now up the throat, into the head and face? As you visualize that glow, notice how it feels in the body. Let that feeling radiate downward, outward, and upward, encompassing the entire body. Encompassing the mind. Moving out beyond our limits into space. What does that glow look like as it moves beyond the limits of our body into the areas surrounding us, into the room, beyond this room? following it as far as you can. And then allow yourself, when you're ready, when you've let that light expand as far as it can go, allow yourself to come toward your belly. Let your head turn to one side, shoulders drop towards the floor. Hands come by your sides. Rest back into this place, feeling your heaviness on the earth, the points of contact to the floor, feeling back into support, coming back to center. Send the breath deep into your center, returning home within yourself. May I be at home in the center of myself. And then take your right hand outside of your right ear. This is going to be 2 steps, this posture. Press up with your right hand so that you can thread the left underneath you. And then just for a moment, reach the right arm up overhead. Let your forehead come to the floor. So we're kind of in a thread the needle type posture. Now you'll feel that elbow right up against the sternum, the left elbow against the sternum. Feeling the opening in the back side of the heart, more so on the left. Opening up through the deltoid. Rhomboids. Feeling how the compression in the front body shoots the breath into the back body. Bringing awareness, space, air, and then light following that into the place behind the heart. Illuminating an internal gaze of how we see ourselves. Allow yourself to come into relationship with yourself, turning and gazing inward. Coming back to that flicker of light, beginning at your center, deep in your core. That flicker of light moving upward, being fed by the air of our breath. Starting to grow, brighten, swell and surround the heart.
allowing ourselves to come into relationship with ourselves. Letting our heart's deepest desires become known, become illuminated. First internally, then externally. From here, we'll start to move outward again by bringing the right knee up into a half frog towards the left fingertips. And then with the right hand overhead, I want you to windmill the right arm along the floor up and back so that you come right into a spinal twist. If it feels right, you can prop your leg or your knee, a block or bolster or blanket. Allowing yourself now to radiate outward in all directions, taking up as much space as you can on your mat. Letting the breath rise from the belly, fill into the torso and out through the extremities. Letting the breath bring awareness to every cell, every space. Every point in the body. Filling your entire body with awareness, with light, with openness, exposing yourself, revealing yourself. Resting in the balance of opening, revealing, and vulnerability. Noticing how that lands in the body with the support of the earth beneath you. So if you're feeling exposed or vulnerable, come back to the sensation of support beneath you, feeling into where your body touches the floor, feeling into the support, and then feeling into that edge of openness, playing that edge between contraction, leaning into support, and expansion and opening. Even though you're resting in stillness now, can you feel the remnants of that cat and cow that we did first in Malasana, then in lizard? Feeling that dance of revealing and concealing. Finding the balance between support and opening, making it sustainable, making it exciting.
exploring, inquiring. Find your fullest expression. Take one more round of breath. And then rolling back towards your belly, press the right hand down towards the floor. Let the left hand come to the floor and thread the right hand underneath the left, preparing for the other side. Stretch the left arm up overhead, hand on the floor. Send your awareness up the back of the right arm. Circulating around the shoulder, feeling the deltoid open, the shoulder blade open, that space between the spine and the shoulder blade, expanding with each inhalation. Breathing into that space between the heart and the spine. Turning that gaze back into yourself. Bringing your awareness back to your center. Feeling that space behind the belly. Coming back to support in the center of yourself. From center, finding a spark. Igniting the light. Feeling it rise upward, filling the ribs. Ribs moving. Air feeding that spark. Igniting that fire to illuminate the heart. Feeling the warmth, feeling the light, feeling the glow start to move outward. Taking your left knee now up towards the right fingertips, coming towards a half frog type shape. And then keeping your left hand as long as you can on the floor, circle it up, back and around, unwinding towards a spinal twist now. Radiating outward.
Feeling that light building, moving from beyond your edges, your boundaries, out into the space around you, taking up as much space as you possibly can on your mat. Expanding into the space around you. Revealing, exposing, illuminating. Let yourself be completely open. If there's a sense of feeling unsupported, feel back into the earth beneath you. Leaning into that support. Feeling the gentle dance, moving inward, moving outward. Like that cat and cow. See if you can feel the remnants of it here, even in stillness. Staying for 5 more breaths. And then unraveling as you're ready, all the way to your back. For a moment, coming onto your back towards a position like 5-pointed star, taking up all the space, reaching through the hands, reaching through the feet. And then surrendering to the floor. Letting go completely into support. Nothing to do, nothing to change. Earth supporting you. Breath breathing you. Resting in the openness. Like you're sunbathing, basking in the sun. Feel the whole body warm, at ease, illuminated. And then as you're ready, roll towards your side. And I want to give you an option. You can stay completely where you are if you'd like,
You have the option to come towards a supported fish pose for a little bit. You can use blocks, or even if you want, I was just thinking, you could even, if you're staying for Yoga Nidra, come towards a real supported fish where you would take your bolster, a couple pillows behind you. Let the knees come open towards blocks, and then take a blanket behind your head. And this would be a real, like a restorative style fish type pose. And you could rest right here, even for the remainder of Yoga Nidra, if that feels nice. And that will let the heart stay and feel elevated here. Or if you have blocks, you could come to your blocks, but I don't think you'd like to stay probably for the whole time on your blocks for Yoga Nidra. But you could also come with block along the mid-back, along the back of the rib cage, and then head supported on a second block. You could take a supported fish for a few minutes. Whichever feels right, whichever is calling you. Find that final posture right now.